Hello students, welcome to Dr. Deepa Dake's NEET Biology, and in today's session we first study about the multiple allelism, that how the ABO blood group is is an example for multiple allelism, and then after we come towards the dihybrid cross. So when we study here multiple allelism, so normally you appear up to today's session or whatever we study up to codominance. So up to codominance we studied that the two alleles are mainly responsible, and alleles means one time again recall the alternate form of genes are called as alleles. But when we study about the multiple allelism, so one thing you most important part you remember that the blood group A, B and O, these three blood groups, AB blood group is an example for codominance, and the remaining three blood group ABO are example for example for multiple allelism. So ABO blood group in human, you remember example for the multiple allelism. Now what is multiple allelism? Multiple allelism means, you remember, when more than two alleles are required or responsible for expression of character or trait, then that phenomena you remember is called as multiple allelism. So this part you remember first. Now when we come towards the multiple allelism or ABO blood grouping, so you remember the three alleles are required. Allele A required for the blood group A, allele B is required for the blood group B, and when both the alleles are completely absent, that is small I condition we studied. So both the alleles when completely absent, then you remember then the blood group is O. So here when we when we come towards the genotypes, so here you remember IA, this the allele A is responsible for the A blood group, or we study that the heterozygous condition that we studied already in our last session for codominance, that IA and small I is also responsible for the capital A. Similarly, the second allele is IB. This IB either homozygous or in heterozygous condition, that is IB I0. But whenever dominant B is present as an allele, the blood group of the person is B. So in human being, B group we observe. Third thing we appear that when both the dominant alleles are absent, that means totally recessive condition is there. So in recessive condition, you remember when both the dominant genes are absent, in this condition you remember यहाँ पे आपका blood group क्या होगा? The blood group become O. So O group is represent or expressed in human beings. So for multiple allelism, codominance we study first, and after codominance we study about the multiple allelism. Now after multiple allelism, you remember one paragraph is provided in NCERT. That paragraph is important for board students, because in that paragraph it is explained that what is the genetic basis for the roundness of the seeds in pea plant. So already you know that the pea plant, for seed character, two characters selected by Mendel. First the shape of the seed, and second is the color of the seed. Shape of the seed when we studied, so we studied the roundness and wrinkledness is responsible for the shape of the seed, and roundness and wrinkledness जब हम appear कर रहे हैं, so here you remember, here we study that what is the genetic basis of the round shape of the seed as well as for the wrinkleness of the seed. So here after multiple allelism we come towards that roundness and round shape and wrinkled shape of the seed. This is the entirely different paragraph, And with this paragraph again in NCERT it is explained that how the incomplete dominance is work. So wrinkledness of the seed or wrinkled shape seeds. Now you all are knowing the dominant R gene is responsible for roundness, and when dominant R is completely absent and small r is present in homozygous, then this responsible for the wrinkled shape or the wrinkledness of the seed. Now why the conditions are available? So you simply remember here, when the genotype is homozygous dominant, that is when the plant show capital R, capital R. This is the dominant state of the gene which is present in homozygous condition. So in homozygous condition, when capital R is present, in that case you remember the dominant R gene is mainly responsible for starch synthesis. When both the dominant R genes are available, more amount of starch is synthesized, and when more starch is synthesized, so this starch is tightly packed in seeds, and because of that you remember the seed become of round shape. This part you remember, this is the reason behind the roundness of the seed. When we come towards the wrinkled shape, so wrinkled shape is expressed by recessive R gene in homozygous condition. When both the genes are present in recessive conditions, so here you remember in recessive condition, the less amount of starch or very less, you remember, very less amount of starch is synthesized, and because of this less amount of starch, you remember, because of this less amount of starch, the seed improperly filled, and due to which the wrinkles are appear and the wrinkled seeds to be produced. This part you remember. Now what is the shape of the seed when the condition is present in between dominant, homozygous dominant and homozygous recessive? The third condition we also appear. That third condition is the capital R and small r. When we come towards the condition capital R and small r, so here you remember, this is the condition where we say the dominant gene is present in heterozygous condition. So dominant gene in heterozygous condition. When dominant gene present in heterozygous condition, so the character of the gene is always be expressed for dominant gene. So whatever character is expressed here, that is expressed by the dominant gene, but as compared to capital R, somewhat less amount of starch is synthesized, but that synthesis of starch is much more than the small r. So you simply remember, whatever amount of starch is synthesized in dominant R and small r condition or in heterozygous condition, that is present in between the homozygous dominant and homozygous recessive. So here you remember, a single R or single dominant gene only produces nearly 50% of starch, and because of this 50% of starch, the shape of seed become round. So shape is always be round because the dominant gene is present, but size wise present between round and wrinkled seed. This part you remember very well. Clear? The size of the seed is ranges in between the pure dominant and pure recessive gene. And this question is asked repeatedly asked in theory exams, that what is the genetic basis of the roundness of the seed. So if question is asking that for the genetic basis of roundness of the seed, so you simply mention or explain this part in this same way for the three genotypes. What is the condition when homozygous dominance is there? What is the condition when the heterozygous dominance is there? And the third condition we study, that is the condition when the shape of the seed is wrinkled. So this much you remember that we studied for the monohybrid cross. In monohybrid cross, first we study the law of dominance, and then we come towards the exceptions for law of dominance, because the incomplete dominance as well as codominance phenomena not follow the phenotypic and genotypic ratios of the law of dominance. So that's why we studied this. And now we come towards the dihybrid cross. In dihybrid cross, first we study what is dihybrid cross, what is the ratio of F2 generation in dihybrid cross, and we come towards the new topic, that is dihybrid cross. When we study about dihybrid cross, so similar to monohybrid cross also, here we study first F1 hybrid and then we come towards the F2 generation. So dihybrid cross, as the mention name is indicate, hybridization phenomena is carried for the two contrasting trait. So here you remember when we define the phenomena, so here you remember cross made between two contrasting trait, or cross made between single pair of contrasting trait. This part you remember for your objective purpose. Sometime the definition is asked in terms that single contrasting trait. Single contrasting trait means monohybrid cross. A single pair of contrasting trait means dihybrid cross. And either single pair or you remember two contrasting traits. Now you are very well know what do we understand by the contrasting traits. Now when we perform the dihybrid cross, F1 hybrid, again you remember the F1 hybrid is always show the similarity with dominant parent. This also you remember, the F1 hybrid is always similar with one of the parent in terms of phenotype only. So in terms of phenotype, that F1 hybrid is similar with one of the parents. So which parent? So here you remember the F1 hybrid in all conditions, though you go for monohybrid, dihybrid or polyhybrid crosses, the F1 hybrid is always be similar with dominant parent in terms of phenotype, you remember. If you come towards the F1 hybrid's genotype, so genotype you remember, the genotype of F1 hybrid is always heterozygous, because one dominant and one recessive gene is present. So heterozygous genotype. And secondly, when you study the dihybrid cross, so in dihybrid cross you remember the dominant parent may be homozygous or dominant parent may be heterozygous. It is not necessary that the dominant parent is always be selected as a homozygous parent. This parent may be a heterozygous parent. Now when we come towards the F2 generations, so in F2 generation you remember we prepared one after selfing phenomena, we prepared one chart, and that with the help of that chart or Punnett square method we use for finding the genotype and phenotype of the different progenies of F2 generation. So upon F2 generation, how many progenies produces in dihybrid cross? So you remember 16 progenies are to be produces. These 16 progenies, you remember, these 16 progenies are produces in 9 ratio, 3 ratio, 3 ratio 1. This part you remember. So 9 by 16, 3 by 16, 3 by 16 or 1 by 16 we say. And this is the phenotypic ratio. Genotypic ratio you separately study when we perform that dihybrid cross and find the genotype of those species. So this part you remember, the F2 generation ratio, in F2 generation, the ratio is 9331 for phenotype and total number of progenies to be produces, that is 16. One of the most important question, that how many gametes are produces in F2 generation. So F2 generation is produced by fusion of 4 types of gamete. So this part you remember, the 4 different types of gametes are responsible for the production of these 16 progenies in F2 generation. Now how the 4 types of gametes are formed and how the total 16 progenies in 9331 ratio is formed, that we study here. So when we made a cross example, again when we come towards example, so for dihybrid cross, most common example we study, that round and yellow seeds, both the characters are dominant. So capital R, capital R, capital Y, capital Y. And round and yellow seed you remember, crossed with wrinkled and green seeds. And the genotype small r, small r, small y, small y. So here we directly begins with the cross, we begins with the genotype only. So when we perform a dihybrid cross, so here you remember the dominant parent round and yellow seed crossed with the recessive parent with wrinkled and green seed. This is the parent generation you remember. Now this parent generation undergoes in gametogenesis, and upon gametogenesis you remember, upon gametogenesis gametes are produced. Gametes are of similar type, all the gametes. Whenever parents are homozygous, you remember, all the gametes or 100% gametes are similar. But if the parents are heterozygous, then the ratio is vary for the gametes that depend on the type of cross. In monohybrid cross, heterozygous parent produces 50-50% gamete, 2 different types of gamete. In dihybrid cross, you remember the parent, heterozygous parent produces 4 different types of gamete, that is the percentage of gamete is 25%. So this part you remember, here we select both the parents as a homozygous parent. Now when the hybridization is take place, so upon hybridization you remember, one F2 progeny is F1 progeny is produces. This progeny show dominant R, small r, dominant Y, small y. So F1 hybrid or F1 progeny we observe. This F1 hybrid you remember, this F1 hybrid is round and yellow, but in terms of genotype it is differ from both the parent, because the genotype of this hybrid is heterozygous. So this part you remember. After that, when we come towards F2 generation, so for F2 generation we come towards the selfing phenomena or self-pollination. So we come towards the selfing or self-pollination. When we perform the selfing, so 4 types of gametes are formed. One capital R first time goes with capital Y, capital R second time goes with small y, the small r with capital Y and small r with small y. Self-pollination produces the similar type of gamete So male as well as female gametes are exactly similar. Suppose these we follow the Punnett square, and according to Punnett square these are the male gamete, and similarly the female gametes are also produces. So here you remember, when we show the female gametes, so same sequence we show for the female gamete also. The first female gamete is dominant, the second female gamete show only one dominant gene, the third gamete also show the one dominant gene, dominant Y, and the fourth gene you remember, fourth gamete, the fourth gamete is the pure gamete. Here if the question is asked for the types of gamete or percentage of gametes, so you remember, out of 4 gametes, 2 gametes are homozygous, one is homozygous dominant and one is homozygous recessive. That means the 50% gametes are homozygous dominant and the 50% gametes are heterozygous. And for objective purpose you remember, okay, if dominant gene homozygous dominant gamete, so the gamete contain both the homozygous dominant gene, that is only 25%. That's why I stated, when the parents are heterozygous in dihybrid cross, they lead to production of 4 different gametes. That means the gametes to be produces in 25%. Now here you come towards the fusion. When you perform, I think all the children are knowing that how we go for the fusion. So capital R, this part you complete on your own, okay, and when you complete this, is you can think that this is a work for you. So when you complete this phenomena, when you complete this checkerboard, so upon completion of checkerboard we observe the one ratio, that is 9:3:3:1 ratio. And remember, 9 progenies are round and yellow, 3 progenies are round and green, 3 progenies, these 3 progenies you remember, wrinkled and yellow, and this is the one progeny. This one progeny you remember is totally wrinkled and green. So in this way you remember, the ratio is vary when a cross made between the round and yellow parent. So this part you remember very well. With this you remember the dihybrid cross, and then after we come towards the law of independent assortment. So in next session we continue with law of independent assortment, law of segregation or law of purity of gamete, and some exceptions are there for this law. So we will continue in next session. So up to next session, all the students kindly work hard, stay motivated and stay blessed, and kindly don't forget to subscribe my channel, like my videos and share my videos.